Yo, what's up, guys? It's Lionel the Builder back again with another video, and today we are going for part 3 of how junior developers can become senior developers. In quick recap, we have two highly distinguished and experienced gentlemen here. You can see part 1 and 2 links in the description, where we talk about becoming a master of the craft, becoming known in your city for being very good at one specific thing. We talk about the tech stack that is considered for the noobs versus the pros and the cons for going for something like C sharp, F sharp, something like that, or JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Node.js, Angular. We talk about the differences between different routes that you can take and different strategies. These guys agree sometimes, disagree sometimes. It's a great episode. Click the links in the description to see the previous ones, and let's go.
Or at least what I ran into, and feel free to help me understand what I could have done differently. But I've already been there, done that. Here you go. Here's the link. So,
yeah, I agree with that. I also, like you said, I also see that aspect of
my bad. I'm trying to get it right. Hold up.
It's in the industry as being very important. And one of the good things about our industry is that if you are going the wrong way, you are going to get checked very quickly. But don't see it as a bad thing. Don't see it as a bad thing, right? It's actually a good thing, because what that means is that you can iterate faster, you can drop bad habits quicker, and that whole cycle of getting to become senior shortens when you start interacting with other people in the industry. So for example, my first experience with it was when there was a programming competition. I was still in school at the time, so I went for a programming competition, and that was the first time I got to talk with the quote-unquote industry. And yeah, I was blown away. It was the first time I heard of regex, because up until that point I was manipulating strings with so on and so forth, until someone was like, just use regex. I was like, what the hell is that? And these are things that you can't really get if you're working in a company and you're working on specific problems that never need regex, for example. You wouldn't really know that. And getting in the industry is very important, like he said. So I agree with him there. Like,
getting in the industry is very important. Let's pause and highlight that for a second. What does that mean? If you're somebody trying to break into tech and you're here living on the junior developer side of YouTube, that means put yourself next to developers in your community. There are meetups, there are conferences, there are study groups, there are workshops, there's coding classes being taught. Even if it's at a university, there's hackathons. Start to go to that stuff. Join a community like the Digital Builders, which is a group of developers on this path together. Some of us are working on projects together. We share our stuff, we give feedback, we do error reporting, etc. But if you're at home and you're in boot camp and you're just working through the problems and stuff, know that you don't have to be alone, and that you will speed up your own process sooner than later by making a developer network. That's what networking is. All of these things that I just mentioned are networking.
Your role in the industry is also becoming even more important, because there are ethics involved. As a developer, there are certain things your company might want you to do. For example, they might tell you, don't hash passwords. And as a member of the community, it's up to you to say, no, I can't allow this. You have to hash passwords.
I'm going off of memory, but I believe at this part we were talking about why you put your connections and ties and ranking up in the industry over your employer. Why you don't necessarily, or you shouldn't, as a junior we're talking about from junior to senior, you should not only think about ways to do right by your community and think about ways to make a name for yourself and do right as the industry as a whole. Think of yourself as having two separate career paths. Even you got a boss or like a ladder to climb within your company or freelancing, and then you have one with the entire world, with LinkedIn, the people looking at your resumes, Fang, the other companies, stakeholders, investors, peers, everything. You're leveling up over there as well. And how do you do that? It's by building side projects, collaborating with people, joining startups, talking, studying, learning, growing, becoming a master of your craft, becoming even better at whichever thing you're doing, because there's so many different paths that you can go within software engineering. But these are all things to think about.
Passwords, because it's the wrong thing to do, to store passwords in plain text and all of that. Right. So you have a duty to both your employer, but also a duty to the industry as well.
All right. So
that was actually something that I never really thought about until this podcast. That's why right now I'm thinking like, damn, I'm glad I said yes to this, because I was learning. They were cooking.
It's okay with you, Lionel. I would like to cascade, for lack of a better term, to a different topic, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you have feedback or a response to Odie or myself.
Oh, no, we could keep it moving.
All right. So, Lionel, what is the state of junior developers in the tech industry right now? Well, it was May 30th right now, 2024. I don't know what today's day is, but
29th.
What? 29th. Okay.
Spoiler alert, we are struggling. It's hard out here.
What is it like being a junior developer, whether you're employed or not?
From my perspective, it's a lot of struggle out there, guys. It's a lot of struggle for the new guys. There's a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of enthusiasm. Everyone wants to break into tech. I think it was maybe COVID that sparked that. What if? It's funny I said that because that's around the time that I started learning the codes. So I'm with that wave as well. If I could just work remotely, what if I could just build whatever I want to build? What if I could have? That's definitely me speaking personal experience. But cool, there's so many day in the life videos. It's like made it seem like software development is nothing but free sushi and the gym. And it's a lot of people in there getting for a rude awakening, not only trying to learn, like knowing what to learn. There's a lot of boot camps out there, probably taking a little bit of advantage of that, promising people jobs, promising people that, if they pay this amount of money and dedicate this amount of time, that they'll be able to, without any networking, just get your resume and find a job on LinkedIn or Indeed. So there's a lot of people going through. I want to zoom in on that for a little bit and just say that that's really not happening. From the people who I've been talking to, it's very, very rare. Every once in a while, you see somebody mention that they just got hired. People in our Discord even are catching roles. So I don't want to say there's zero jobs out there, but I will say that out of all the people who I meet, since I've been making videos, I have been meeting people on the regular. Go ahead. You if you haven't written me before, add me, Instagram, LinkedIn, reach out. I always respond to people, and I would say that maybe 1 out of 10 already has a position. Everybody else is pretty much looking. I'm a little bit surprised when I meet someone who is hired, within the past year or two, especially if it's their first role, because you're not seeing a lot of those positions out there, unless you are joining a startup or you're scooping up the freelance gigs that are out there, because that's still a very, very valid strategy. That is pretty much how I make my living off of freelancing, so it's very, very, very when I was speaking on the juniors and the state of juniors, I know this very well, but I don't mean to say that from a state of you should not learn to code, but I would definitely tell people, don't quit your job to learn to code. Planning on learning to code and then working, it's not gonna be a struggle, because you don't want to put that pressure on yourself. I would say take your time and practice the craft and fall in love with the craft without the pressure. Build your portfolio, build projects, learn how to build, learn how to code, learn what you like about it, learn what you don't like about it before you even go looking for a job. Because I'm assuming that I just believe everything works in cycles, and that the job market is no different than that, and that it is going to come back around. And I want to be ready, and I want to help other people be ready. I just believe in technology as a very important thing to the world in general. So that's why I always wanted to have a community like the one that we have, Digital Builders, where, you know, we're techies, we're the digital builders. We're helping people guide into tech. We also have mentors in there who have been coding for years, who help the youngers. And, you know, it's cool to know people who are like you, like yourselves, like us, in a sense, with this. But I'm just rambling at this point. Let's keep it going. Through that struggle, kind of, I would say the majority of juniors are in that point of wanting to be a developer, you know, wanting to be a hired working on projects person, and maybe even completed a boot camp, know enough HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's what most people learn right off the bat to start building. It's either that or Python seem to be like the two choices. And then you grab a framework, either Angular, Next.js, React. You know, that is the path that the majority of people who I meet every day in my Discord, because I make videos geared towards that community, because there's only so many, if in my perspective, in my mind, I'm here to help the guys behind me. You know, like I feel like I'm most valuable to reach back and y'all know, and I don't know if I said this before, but y'all know that feeling when you hear yourself when you hear your voice on a voicemail or something like that, like that weird feeling. If I don't know how many people are YouTubers, but watching yourself in YouTube and watching my videos back, imagine that times 100. It's a very, very strange feeling. At least to where now you're either freelancing, you have a portfolio with some projects. At least you're able to build, you know, something, submitting pull requests and stuff like that, getting them to at least that point where you can say you're a developer, and then also trying to motivate them what I feel like is the proper way to do it, which would be networking. Like how I went to a conference. It seems like I was lucky to latch onto that part and to go do it. I went to do I always ramble like that? Because they asked what was the state of junior developers. I think I got lost in my explanation. At conferences, and you know, knowing nothing, you know, just having my bag and feeling like a poser, having a couple portfolio projects. I went to the whole tech conference, but then felt like that helped me take on that persona a bit quicker because I put myself physically there. One of the messages that I spread to people is that in your... Okay, so I somehow transitioned into talking about advice for junior developers. Town, you know, I know not all around the world. Like if you have a bit of people in your town, usually there's a place where the developers are, and you need to put yourself physically there. Even if all you have is aspiration, still you'll be better off than the people who are just YouTube tutorial following. If you guys are watching this, I'm so sorry, because I feel like I need to do a do over to that question. I don't think I answered that right. I know they call it tutorial hell. And then applying for jobs. There's people who apply for 20 jobs a day and everything's getting denied. Okay, I got back. I wrapped it up. I connected it. Never mind. We're good. It was just a roundabout way of... Okay, never mind. You know, it's just getting denied after denied after denied. You know, every opportunity I have received was from a handshake at some point, or somebody meeting me somehow. I've passed the like sniff test, and they've been willing to give me a chance based off of, you know, meeting them. all of the stuff that I tried where I'm just the application, I haven't really got much of a chance in that realm. Not yet, at least. Maybe I don't have the right certifications or the right blogs and level. That's true. That's true. Still myself up in the industry in that sense. But here in Virginia Beach, I've made a name for myself as a go-getter. Like if there is a problem, like you can trust me that I'm at least not going to give up and not panic. Like I will figure out how to move forward. I forgot what the question was.
I think you answered it. It was the state of new developers in today within the industry.
I think
Sorry,
you give
got a little rambly there.
No, it's fine. I think you give very solid advice, which is put yourself physically.
I hope so, man.
There in those situations, right? My first job was okay. So let me tell you how I got into the industry. So my first job, I was this kid that came out of school. While I was in school, I had done so many projects. So it wasn't like I was completely green. I had built many websites with PHP at the time. So I was pretty competent with PHP, but I couldn't get a job. I would apply. I remember even taking a HTML test where I scored 100 over 100 and they were completely blown away. But by the time I got to the point to take the job, the salary offer was so small. So I couldn't take that job and I was defeated. And I remember Microsoft was organizing a conference in Lagos, Nigeria. So I went for the Microsoft conference. I just sat down there and they were asking questions, right, about like C# and all of that stuff. And if you answered correctly, you got the chance to win a mouse and a USB flash drive. And the mouse was this ArcTouch mouse, very fancy mouse like that. I was so locked in. I was like, I'm going to win both the mouse and the flash drive. And there I started, having conversations. I was even arguing with a particular guy, not knowing. So I was arguing with him. I was telling him that PHP was better than ASP.NET. And we entered this whole argument and it went so deep, right? Like he would go into very niche reasons why ASP.NET was better. I would go into niche reasons why it's not and all of that. And after that conversation, he asked me, where do you work? I said, I don't work anywhere. I tried to get a job. It didn't work out. And he was like, and I told him, oh, I went to this place and this is how much they offered me. And he was like, really? Come work for me. I'll double the amount, and that was how I got my first job for real.
Wow.
Like,
woo, how crazy is that? Okay, see? Now, perfect example. Putting yourself there. Make sure you're doing what you're doing now, which is studying and practicing hands-on, get your skills up, but then you gotta give yourself a chance for something cool like that to happen by putting yourself physically. Wow.
What I didn't also know was that the person that I was sparring with was like the top person on Stack Overflow. Like he was good. So it's things like this. So that's why what you said was very, very solid advice. Like you have to put yourself out there. You get opportunities to network with people. Those relationships are very, very important in the long run, especially as you grow in the industry and things like that.
Lionel, you think your status would be different if you chose a different stack as a junior developer?
Possibly. I think so. I actually never thought about that, man, but damn, yes, I believe so now that I've had more time to think about that. Yes. Yeah, because, well, think about it. Are we on the noob tech stack? Please drop a comment if you think this is true. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Is that considered a noob tech stack to you? And will we level up from junior to senior if we were on a different tech stack? I think so. Yeah, because I kind of do see what you guys mean about it being flooded and about, I feel like I might have a junior stack. You know what I mean? Like that's what you do. Like you learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You start writing React components, and there's so many different. It works perfectly with Firebase or Superbase, whatever you need. It's like the easiest. There's the most information, most tutorials on this stuff, and it's kind of what everybody's doing. So I did connect to that when you said earlier, and I would just imagined it's easier to be a big fish in a smaller pond. Like, man, how am I ever going to stand out writing React components and managing state, or all of the stuff that everybody does, and going for the jobs that everybody goes for.
So I'm just going to be really blunt. You can keep yourself private, Odie. I don't know, but like F#, I never. So 10 years ago, I didn't realize that I could make $115, $120, $125 an hour writing F# code, but I have, right? And it's exactly what you said, being a big fish in a small pond, and recognizing like, okay, believe it or not, the United States of America, like they're not leading edge, right? Over in these European countries, they use Scala, they use F#, they probably use Clojure, right? Here in the States, nah, we're straight Java, C#, maybe Ruby back in the day. They probably still do it. But again, I mean, you're kind of like reinforcing what I was saying, is strategically saying, what space can I dominate in the state of Florida or a certain region of the states where a product was already created and it was sold and it was successful because of a really productive language. Maybe I should position myself so that they can hire me and pay me the big bucks to maintain it. Like it's like game theory, man. It's strategy. So yeah, I was curious.
That's a deep level chess move. Man, I'm gonna have to look up some F# stuff after this.
You know how they say once you go black, you never go back?
That's how it is with F#.
I'm unaware of any programmer that knew C# decided to mess around with F# and invested, let's say, a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks and say, nah, I'm good with C#. I never, ever. It's always the first language to go to. And usually they don't go to it because the employer won't let them. So that's all. I'm done tooting F# again.
Yeah. So the F# thing, what makes F# special? There are things that make F# special, but that's not where the most benefit.
Who out there has used F# before? Drop a comment. I'm so curious because outside of these guys, I've literally never heard anybody mention that language before.
It is where the most benefit is that F# is from a different family of languages. So all the languages you've used, C#, JavaScript, Java, they are all part of the C family of languages. They have their strengths, but they also have their weaknesses as well. F# belongs to the ML family of languages. So Haskell is in that family, Elixir is in that family, Gleam is in that family.
Quick question: what does ML stand for? This is a junior developer episode.
Machine learning?
No. Let me hurry up and look it up real fast.
It's I think modeling language or something like that. ML languages are, so there's machine learning, then there's ML as a language family.
Meta language.
Meta language thing. And what makes that language really good is that you aren't writing what should happen. You are describing the problem, and those are two. See, once your brain switches over, like switching back is very difficult, because right now when you're writing code, you're writing do this if, then do this, then
Imperative.
when, then, right? In an imperative style. But once you start writing in a functional style, you are saying do this, like this is connected to this, and this connects to this, and this connects to this,
Like chess.
and like chess, exactly. These are the
It's plug and-
dependencies.
Damn, I need to learn that.
It's plug and play, exactly. And you're like,
But you're writing the rules of, so you're basically writing the rules of the program in a way.
Correct.
The functionality, the structure on a deeper level than describing the laws.
It's called domain modeling.
yeah.
There's a book by Scott Blashin called Domain Modeling Made Functional. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Domain modeling
it's-
made
it's-
functional.
We had them on our show.
Domain modeling made functional. I gotta write that again.
Subscribe.
No, we'll put the recommendations at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So the point I was trying to make with this was, it's not, F# is a very good ML language, but it's not the only ML language. There are other ML languages as well. And in fact, it's even one of the reasons why you've heard of Rust, right? Rust is gaining so much popularity because Rust takes a lot of those ML concepts and starts with a functional first approach as opposed to an imperative first approach when writing code. So yeah, that's so you hear a lot of new languages coming out, a lot of new features in C# coming out that people are so hype about. All those things have been in F#1, F#2, like almost 10 years ago, because it's a completely different. So here's what happened. Sorry for going on this rant, but here's what happened. Computers changed, right? So in the past, we were only writing direct desktop applications where we were manipulating memory, and that was it, right? But we've entered this distributed world with the internet where you are transferring data to and fro the wire, you're dealing with services, you're dealing with protocols and things like that. And that paradigm that we used in the past of manipulating memory, that doesn't fly in the cloud. So a paradigm that deals with data transformation, data pipelines, and all those kind of things, that is better suited for the world we live in today. So a lot of those languages are trying to gain those features and essentially like shift towards this new world that we live in. So yeah, you should not just F#. So F#, Haskell, there's this OCaml. F# and OCaml are very similar. OCaml is like that, and a few other languages.
all right.
Because
So
that's the way that it's going anyway.
no.
That's exactly. So it's
Oh.
like yes, it is. The industry is moving in that direction. For real. The industry is moving in that direction. So F# is just one of them. Kotlin is another example of something that is moving towards a functional language as well.
All right, so Lionel, we talked about tech, okay, but the original vision for Tech Conception was to discuss the business of software development, okay. For someone aspiring, I would assume, to be a senior developer, not everything is about tech. It's about planning, okay. And so, with that said, another book I'm going to recommend, and we'll show it at the end of this episode through Odie's amazing editing skills. I don't even think Odie even knows this book, but this is one of the books that has transformed my career. I get respect because of this book, right? It's called Writing Software by Yuval Lowy, spelled with the R, Rightting. Not only do we design software solutions, but we also design the development effort, aka the software project itself. We don't do a big bang, all developers, all development teams, ready, set, go, everybody pound those keyboards. No, we have a methodical, well thought out way of basically orchestrating the development effort. What work could be done in series? What work could be done in parallel? What are the dependencies in order to deliver a feature? If a feature is a set of capabilities, right? What are the capabilities that, well, we can realize this feature? And again, everything is about dependencies. Each dependency has a unique identifier so that we can have a spreadsheet, and then we can have architectural diagrams, and everything is like chess. Everything relates to one another, in which we can have a very good view, and we could plan for how this project is going to be delivered. Having a spreadsheet of Who are the teams? What are the features? Who are the point of contact? Everything. That book really upped my game, especially as a software architect. So again, it's not just about tech when you want to graduate to a
It's not just about the code, it's about the chess master of it all and about the entire project and solving problems for the higher up. These are higher level issues. Code, always focusing on the code, that's bottom level stuff.
a higher pay scale. It's also about basically being able to lead, and in order to lead, usually people have to respect your plan. So that's it.
So the knowledge and skill of your system design is what I'm pretty much getting out of that. Like
You're designing the development effort.
So let me add to that. So what he's saying is that programming is a team sport, right? As much as we like to,
So like a quarterback of the developers, basically. For a second there, I was thinking the project, but he's talking about designing the development effort, huddling everybody up and figuring everything out.
like to think it's an individual thing. I have my skills, but at the end of the day, it does happen, don't get me wrong, but there's rarely anything of significance done in programming that's done by a single person. It's usually done with a team. And just like with every other team sport, you can have a team that has all skilled developers, all skilled players, and a different team who everybody is sort of average, killing it, because they all understand each other. They know how to bounce off each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they know how to move in sync and things like that, right? So what Scott is saying is that it's not enough to know the skills. You also need to understand the dynamics of both the politics is part of it, but also how do we organize ourselves such that we can efficiently deliver, right? And what strategies do we use? Do we say, okay, 3 people work on the front end and 2 people work on the back end? Do we even build the back end first, or do we build the front end first? Like, there's so much, should I say, meta problem solving involved in getting a team of guys together to work on something that that goes beyond just, okay, I know how to use React, I know how to use Svelte.
My first time experiencing that was at a hackathon, and I'll never forget it. And how like I was sitting there like, wow, okay, so this is what it's like. Before we had started writing any code, we were in like the war room, and our leader had a whiteboard out with the marker, and we were drawing out features, functional requirements and non-functional requirements, and who's going to be working on what. He was quarterbacking the whole thing before we hit our like break to then go code, and it was awesome. And I'm like, okay, this is what it must be like,
or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So for example, I can give you one advice for free. So for example, if you're working alone, right, you use the best tool for the job. But if you're working with people, you use the tool that everybody understands the most. Not the best tool for the job, because the best tool for the job will only have 1 or 2 people productive, and the rest will just be stepping on top of each other, right? But if the tool, even if that tool is JavaScript, but all of us understand it, all of us have very good appreciation of how to use it, and we're all good in that particular way, we can achieve more, even though JavaScript is a slow language, and I get all that. But you see where I'm going to with this. There are other things involved in becoming an experienced software engineer that have nothing to do with the coding. For example, even being able to write is very critical. Being able to write technical documentation. You have an idea in your brain, it's still an idea in your brain, but for you to communicate it in a very clean technical way to your co-workers is a very important skill that you need to develop if you want to climb higher, right? And the higher you go, so if you work in Fang, for example, it becomes even more important than the technical skill itself, because you're dealing with thousands of teams. There are so many communication gaps, and a lot of things are happening. So these are things that you don't really see coming up as a junior developer, because it's all about getting the technical skills, but those are equally as important as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we close? Is there anything you want to respond
You wanted to say
to?
something. Hold on, I have to hear what you wanted to say. You wanted to say something, Scott. Go ahead and say it.
I didn't have anything. I was expecting Lionel to respond, or at least dispute anything that we say.
I was expecting that. I disagree. But
Man, yeah, we pretty much wrapped it up there. So that, I said I was gonna break this up into 3. There's 5 more minutes if you guys want to go to their channel and watch the last bit of it. Their link is in the description as well. Give them a share, give them a like, give them a subscribe. Myself as well, especially if you made it to the end. Shout out to you. Join the links in the description. Again, I still have 2 other podcasts that I'm gonna react to before we get back to the regular scheduled program of me shooting other videos as well. We also have a lot of exciting stuff for you guys that I'm working on right now that I can't wait to share more information with you. Hop into the Discord, write me a message, and I'll see y'all next time. I'm Lion the Builder, and I'm out. Peace.